Okay, so we're here to talk about the history of the pilgrimage to Our Lady of Champion, how it got started, and we're lucky enough today to have the founders of that pilgrimage, Bob and Kate Signorelli. Hi, Bob. Hi, Kate.
Hey,
Well,
Chuck.
Chuck,
Thanks for being here. What I wanted to start with is tell me a little bit about you two. I mean, I feel like I know you so well, but maybe there's some things I don't. How did you guys, first, let's start with how did you come into the order? What brought you to the Order of Malta?
Um, I
Kate actually
Ladies
did.
first.
lady,
Kate,
when Charles Schultz was the hospitaler in Houston, Texas, and Charles was on his deathbed. He was on a feeding tube. He was he was truly dying, and it was my obligation, joy, to take Holy Communion to the sick people at our parish. So I went, and I never really knew Charles. I knew of him. And so while I was meeting with him and his wife, Sally, and I brought him communion, and he said, Kate, you should be in the Order of Malta. And I said, I don't know, Charles.
What year was
And
this?
oh, that was like 2003, 2002, 2002. Yeah. And so I said, Charles, Bob and I do everything together. I said, so the thing is that if I did something like this, Bob would have to do it first. And he went, okay, Sally, go get the papers. And he had a booklet. And he said, take this home and study it and tell me what you think if you want to join the order. So I brought it home and gave it to Bob. And I said, if you want to do this, we should do it together. And uh, um, so here is the book. What do you think? So there you go, Bob. You get
And
to,
unfortunately, Mr. Schultz passed away then.
no,
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 he
he
did
didn't.
not. This is
He's-
really wonderful. He had a miraculous cure
Sweet.
and right around that time. And it was so beautiful
Did you pray
because,
over him? 'Cause
yeah, I
that
did.
might be why you get powerful
Yeah.
prayers
Well, from Jesus is good. And so
all the
the
time.
thing is all the time. So anyway, he got well and we started meeting with him all the time. And Bob thought it was a good idea for us to delve
That might
into
be the best
this.
part of the story, actually. That he had a healing.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
There's your
Uh,
first champion miracle.
I think
well,
it was.
So
Kate
Bob,
brought
you
the
you liked it?
Kate, Kate brought the book home, and I read it, and I was very skeptical when I read it. I
Why?
thought, hey, I thought if these people do what they say they do, I don't know anybody that does all this. And if in fact they do what they say they do, this is incredible. So I see nothing wrong with it. However, just being the person that I am, I had doubts and I wanted to do some due diligence about this. And I also read where it's a religious order. That's a little further away than I had been before I started getting into this, and not even close, actually. So I thought, I called Charles. I said, hey, I do have an interest. However, I need some due diligence and I need to meet these people. I need to find out what they do and if they're really serious about this. He goes, okay, I can assure you that they are. I said, okay, great. So Kate and I went to Washington and we attended a retreat. I believe it was in Washington and outside of Washington. And we attended a retreat and we met probably 30 people, something like that, was at the retreat. Very nice people, very religious. I was impressed. I said, okay, on the spiritual side, these people do. So I told Charles, I said, hey, this is this process. I only met 30 people that were on a retreat. They
Bob,
should have been.
do you remember any of the names of those who were out on that retreat?
Yeah, Barbara Murphy was there and Bishop from North Carolina. He's
He
passed
died.
away. Uh,
Bishop Curlin.
Bishop Curlin, thank you. Bishop Curlin was the retreat director.
I love Barbara.
And Curlin,
The Barbara, you said Barbara Murphy. I love Barbara.
oh, Barbara's wonderful. Barbara's
Yeah,
wonderful.
there's
And I think that I think that Mary Noel was there with Bill
Bill Page.
Page, and that's right off the
Patty,
top.
Patty McCarthy and his
Yeah.
wife, Leona.
So you
Uh,
met some good ones.
Yeah, we did. We
Roland
did.
Roland Morrow was there. Actually, most of these people are gone now.
Yeah.
Roland Morrow. Uh, there was not Noreen. I'm trying to think of the other woman, and she was on the board of directors
Kathy,
from yes,
that's
yeah,
that's a lingua.
yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that it was a great group of people, and so we left. And I told Charles, this is just the beginning. I need to meet. I'd like to meet the board of directors. I said, now if that's out of the question, it is. But I'd like to meet them because they're the ones that set policy and do things. He said, okay. He said, I'll arrange that. So they had a meeting in Florida, and I'm not sure where it was. It was either Palm Beach, could have been Miami,
Palm
but I
Beach.
think
It was
it was
Palm
Palm Beach.
Beach.
It was okay. So we went. Bill Page was president at the time, and met him. And oh my gosh, I can't remember all the board of directors at the time, and they were questioning why I was even there. Uh, because I met him at the bar before they went to dinner or whatever after their meeting. And I just want to meet you because I may have an interest in the org. So I did, and there was that was a positive experience. So I came back, and Charles said, "What else?" And I said, "There's a from what I read, there is. I don't know anyone from the American Association. There's three associations, and I don't know anybody from the Western." I said, "There is an event though coming up, and it's in Collegeville, Minnesota." And I'd like to attend that event because it was a dedication of the Hill manuscript, whatever
Hill
that's called.
Manuscript Museum and Library.
That's it. Okay. And so he said, "Okay, let me see if I can get you into that." So I did. I went up there and I met people. Bob Schaefer from the American Association. I met a bunch of people from the American Western Association. I'm trying to think of the ones from there. I met them. And this was a great experience. I kept asking them questions. Tell me, what do you give to? What? And each association, I realized up front, had a different procedure for everything. So that was okay. It was good for me to realize that though. But they all essentially did the same thing. So
How
I
was your
came
faith
back.
around that time? Where were you guys faith-wise?
Oh,
Well, I was already dedicated to the church.
Bob was already taking Holy Communion to the nursing homes. I was going to the homebound in their homes. We were very involved at St. Cecilia Parish in Houston, Texas. Um, as a matter of fact, the question comes up during our discernment. We're doing so much for the church. We're doing so much already. Why do we need to join anything? And so we had to and we resolved that beautifully. And the way we did that is because I was a director of Birthright, and I was taking Holy Communion to the homebound, and I was very, very involved. And Bob was very, very involved. And we were like silos. We were not involved together.
Right.
And so we thought if we joined the Order of Malta, we would basically not give up everything else, but yeah, sort of. We did. And then what we did was then we felt like we could live our faith and do our works together.
I got
And
to
that
tell
was
you,
the reason.
a lot of the dames in Columbus are in Birthright, so it must be a popular transition to go from Birthright to Malta.
I think it is.
Yeah. So then,
What year did you join? What year was that?
Bob joined in, this was in 2003 that we went to, Bob
these different.
went to Lourdes the first time. And then Bob, of course, put his application in and he came in 2004. But this was during the time that they would not allow husbands and wives to come together.
Right.
So I had to wait till 2006 to be invested.
Okay. And so you went to Lourdes in 2004, Bob?
Well,
Right.
well, we
Or did
both
It
you
was
did.
go
our
with him,
first
Kate?
trip.
We both
Oh,
did.
yeah.
I was told, they said, Charles got a little impatient with me because I said, "Hey, I'm not done with my due diligence yet." And he goes, What do you need?" And he goes, "I'm kind of losing a little patience here." And I said, "Well," I said, don't lose patience." I said, I just this is important. This is a religious order. I'm giving my life to something here. And so is Kate. And I said, I think that's pretty important. And so he said, okay, what is it now? And I said, I'd like to go to see what happens there. And he goes, the trip's full. I said, that's fine. I said, I'll go next year. I said, but I have to go there first to see what's going on. And he said, okay, believe it or not, the Blessed Mother got involved in this right there. I got a phone call a week later and said, we just had a couple that couldn't go on the trip. And I think this was probably June, or it had to be like April, right before we're ready to go. And I got a call and said, hey, we have 2 seats open. If you and your wife want them, I said, I'll take them. I said, do I have time to get this uniform and all that? I said, yes, you'll have all this time. So we had literally 4 weeks advance notice. Did you have a passport? So I've got everything you need. From that standpoint, I'll just send you a check. It's not a big deal. You can put it on a credit card. And they said, okay, you're on the trip. We went on the trip to Lourdes. And I don't know if it was a second or third day. And we both said, how do we join this? How do we get involved and do this and make it a significant part of our life?
And how
And
many times have you been to Lourdes since?
16.
16, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And they were 16 consecutive years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So
and did this cause a Marian devotion or further when you already had?
Oh, it deepened it. It
Oh,
deepened it.
deepened it immensely, immensely.
Yeah.
And we made a promise to the Blessed Mother when we were there that we would return every year until physically we were not able to be useful anymore. And so we did exactly that. And what was really interesting is I became the hospitaler for the Houston group. We only had, what did we have, Kate, 4 members?
I need to hear about
Four.
that too. You need to tell me that story as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I became the hospitaler for Charles stepped down, and then I became the hospitaler.
What year was this?
Oh, it
2000.
was right after he was invested. So he was invested in 2004. So it had to be the same year. It was
It was right
he was
after that.
invested.
It was,
Congratulations. You're in. Now take over. Here's
yeah.
the work.
So, but Pat Clancy called me on the phone and said, "Hey, I want to know a little bit more about you before we appoint you as the hospital." I said, "Yeah, what do you want to know?" And so he asked me some questions, and I said, "Let me tell you something." I said, "I will have 50 members, good Catholic members, in this before I depart from this position." He said, really? He goes, can you just expound on that? I said, hey, I can do it. Just trust me. I can. And I can build this into something that is really quite dynamic. He said, okay, you're the hospitaler. So then I got approved by the board. And my first recruit was Craig Jarko. Okay. You then, wait a minute, hold on a second. I'm not sure. When did you come into the order? 2005, was it?
No, it was in
2006.
2006.
Okay. So I had already recruited a number of people by then.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let me put my application in until after you were invested, which was odd.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had that extra year.
Okay. So, but anyway, then I recruited a lot of people and had them start recruiting people. And we always considered that the critical mass was somewhere between 20 and 30, that you could grow, do projects together, and make it really something great. So we got to 30, and then it really took off. So, but then my time as hospitaler was up, and I went on the board of the Federal Association. Kate became the hospitaler at that point.
What caused you to run?
I was asked to do it.
Oh, for the
I'm trying to
board?
figure. Yeah, several people said, "Why don't you run?" Michelle Bowe was the hospitaler, and she had only served one term, and so she was running for a second term. Of course, the board elects this position, and So I was called and said, would you have an interest in doing this? I said, yeah. I said, but I don't think I'm going to unseat an incumbent. And in fact, I got a telephone call said you just did, and you're the hospitaler for the association. It was
And that's
actually
when we
Frank.
met.
It was Frank Gambale actually called me, and
God rest his
uh,
soul.
yeah, oh my
Yes.
goodness, yeah, really, really great folks. But anyway,
You know what,
Kate, you
Bob? I
did,
just wanted to, I don't mean to correct you, but I think it's since we're doing this for like
Yeah,
yeah,
after
posterity.
you, yeah, after you left as hospitaler, you wanted me to take over as hospitaler, but someone in DC called and said I couldn't. And so Stephen Sleazer became the
uh,
hospitaler after you. And he was hospitaler for 3 years. And after his 3 year term, then we had that little election thing, and I was elected to be the hospitaler after Stephen.
yeah, because I was a hospitaler for the association. Yeah, so okay,
So you're
I remember.
hospitaler for the association. Kate's the hospitaler for the Houston region. Tell me a little bit about Mary and her working in your lives, and how did you even come to know about a champion? How did you even, I mean, what was the state of maybe of your Marian devotions in general, or where'd you hear about this? Let's talk about that stuff.
We
Okay,
heard, I heard about it. You go ahead, Bob.
okay, we Kate knew um, about the approval of the church of the American of the champion pilgrimage or the champion
Shrine.
apparition. Okay, she knew about it, and she had read
And that was
that it was
2010.
December of
Yeah, I think December
2010.
8th, 2010. Yeah.
So she knew about it, and we were in Lourdes in 2011. Okay, so that was December when it was approved, and we were in Lourdes in 2011 in May, and we were at the San Sever, Kate, myself, and probably 10 people at the table, and I can't remember all of them. Michelle Malloy was there, Collins Whitfield. Uh, uh, there were 10 people there. Somebody brought up at at this session, and it was very casual, said, he said, the Europeans go on all of them go on two pilgrimages a year. He said, Spain goes to Fatima, and Italy goes to Loreto, Ireland goes to Knock, France. Everybody's going on a second pilgrimage. It's a shame we don't have a Marian apparition site in the United States. Kate popped up right then. She goes, we do now. There was one just approved outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and it was just approved 5, 6 months ago.
Kate, do you remember how you came to know about this, or did you just read about it, or?
No, actually, Mary Barnes is a member of the American Association living in Houston, Texas. And we were at a party and she came up to me and she goes, have you heard the news? That they just announced there's a new Marian apparition site in the United States. And I went, no, I have not heard about this. So it was Mary Barnes that told me about it.
That's great.
Yeah.
We owe it all to Mary Barnes, right?
We do everything.
Well, then that night, because we were talking about, well, maybe the federal could go on 2 of these a year. And so why don't we go up there and check it out? Who wants to go with Kate and myself to do this? I don't know, 7 or 8 people said, count me in, count me in. And that was fine. And they said, when do you want to do it? And I'll get back to you very shortly. I'll lead us up there. Well, then
You froze. I'll go tell him.
So I asked who would like to go up there to champion, and we'll check it out to see what we can do for a pilgrimage. Everybody at the table, not everybody, but most of them said, yeah, count me in, count me in. And so then I said, I'll get back to everybody. Kate and I will lead this up there. Well, then I got sick. I got cancer. And so that delayed things by a year. And so then I'm fine. So that's all been
I was going
cured.
to
That's
say, I
just,
don't remember that.
yeah. Well, I didn't tell too many people. So, but I'm cured. I'm fine, and I'm still
Thank
here.
God.
So that's good. So it was 2013 that I called Collins Whitfield because he was there that night, and I asked him. I said, "Would you mind driving up there, taking some pictures, and sending them to me? Because we're going to do this, but would you mind driving up? You're close. He got a farm up in he lived in Chicago, but he also had a farm in Wisconsin. So he said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll drive up there." He sent me back probably 15 pictures, and it was kind of rural. I thought, well, I'm not sure what's going to go on here. We need to go up and see what's going to happen. So we, I called the lady at the shrine, and this was probably in, Kate, you'll remember probably maybe it was in June. It was after we went to Lourdes
Yeah, it
again.
was in July because we went to visit there in August. We were there in
That's what it was. Okay. So I had called some of the people that were at the San Severe that night and really didn't get any volunteers to go. They were all tied up. It's not they didn't want to, since they were tied up doing stuff. It was the last minute. So I said, we're going to do this in August, and we're going to do it on the Feast of the Assumption. And so I called Wayne Ruth because he was there too, and he said, yeah. He goes, he jumped on a plane, he said, I'll be there. And Collins Whitfield said he would meet us there as well. So that was the four of us. We stayed at a hotel just right on St. Norbert's campus, thinking that maybe if we did a pilgrimage, that campus might play a part in it somehow.
it was the
And
Crest Hotel.
that's it. Yeah.
Were you aware that the Shrine of St. Joseph was there?
No,
No, not then. Not then we didn't. So okay, so I had called the lady at, I forget her name now, but she was the person that was in charge of the shrine. And I told her, I said, I'm with the Order of Malta, and I really don't expect you to know what that is. And she goes, no, I've never heard of it. And I said, it's not a problem. So I told her, I said, this is what we do. This is sick and the poor. It's a lay religious order that dedicates ourselves to caring for the sick and the poor and our personal sanctification. And we do this together. And it's 900 years old. And so she said, okay, I've never heard of this, but and I said, that's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. I said, just if you would, just Google Order of Malta and put in Rome, and there you'll see everything you want to know about the order. She goes, okay, I'll do that. And I said, we're coming up there for the Feast of the Assumption. She goes, oh my goodness. She goes, great. She goes, we get about 2,000 to 3,000 people here for this. And she goes, and I said, well, we were looking for a tour. Maybe you could show us around a little bit and see what's going on. She said, I'm not going to have time for that. And she goes, have you already? I said, well, we're booked. We're coming. And she goes, okay, I'll look this up and we'll see what we can do. And I said, but don't worry about it. If you can't, we'll figure this out. I don't think it's that big. And she goes, okay. So apparently she did. She looked us up on Google. She calls the next day. Say, I looked it up. Um, Quite impressive organization. She goes, I'm surprised it's not better known. I said, well, I said, it is in Europe and it is in parts of the United States, but it wouldn't be in Green Bay. But that's all right. It's probably going to be in Green Bay, well known one day. And she goes, okay, that's cool. She goes, let me tell you. She goes, I did read this, and how many people do you have coming? I said, I think we have four. She goes, okay. I'm going to set you up, and we're going to make sure that somebody can show you around. And we're going to set you up some chairs in the front for the mass that we're going to have. I said, great, this is awesome. And she goes, by the way, she goes, would you like to meet the bishop? I said, no, 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 I really don't want to meet him. And she goes, well, why not? And I said, because I said, I'm coming here on behalf of the Order of Malta. And I said, I don't have anything more to do here than figure out if this is a site that we can bring people to and have a pilgrimage. That's all I'm coming for, to check it out. I said, when you meet a bishop, there's generally implied some kind of a commitment. I don't want to disappoint him. I don't want to disappoint anybody. So we're just coming up there, and I really don't uh, don't think that's important now. But I said, if it does become important, we'll meet him. She goes, okay, that's fine. So um, Kate and I, Wayne, and
Collins.
He's
Collins,
frozen.
that,
There you go.
and we went to the shrine together just to see it. There was no one there. Well, there were people there, but not very many, maybe 50 or 60 on the grounds. So we went there and we went down to the apparition chapel together. And it was down there that uh, something very, very incredible happened. We were kneeling in front of the Blessed Mother statue, and Kate obviously got a message from the Blessed Mother, and so did I. And the Blessed Mother, Kate, before I
You want
go
me
further, what?
were you asking me to chime
Kate,
in or?
yeah, Kate, why don't you
Yeah,
tell us what she said to you, and then Bob can tell us what she said to him.
Oh, okay. The
Ladies first.
the ladies first, huh? We were kneeling in front of the statue of the Blessed Mother together on the little pray-do there. And we were both praying, and it was an interior locution. I did not hear a voice outside my head. I heard very, very in my heart, Kate, thank you for coming. I want you to, and I go, oh, Blessed Mother, could you just stop right there, please? I said, you know that I will do anything you ask me to do. You know that I love you, but if you want us to do something, if you want me to do something, if you tell Bob, it's really probably going to happen.
There you go.
And so the Blessed Mother stopped talking to me. And then I spent the rest of the time. You'd think I would have felt guilty for doing that, wouldn't you? You would have think that I would have gone, oh, I am so sorry I interrupted you. No, I didn't. I just felt so happy and at peace. And then we were walking outside, and Bob said to me, he goes, did you hear anything while you were in there? Did you get a message at all? And I said, well, the Blessed Mother said, thank you for coming. And, I don't know. What did she say to you, Bob? And then Bob told me what she said
yeah.
to her.
So what happened? I'm not sure if it was interior locution or if it was something more. I was kind of in a very uh, deep prayer, and then I hear this voice, and it's a woman for sure, and said, "I'm glad you came, and I want you to bring thousands here." And I said, "Well, how am I going to do that?" She goes, "I will help you. This is what I want." That was it. It wasn't any more than that. I didn't need any more than that. But when I was walking out, they have all of these brochures and things on the back table, which I'm sure you're aware of. And so I picked up this newspaper, and I see at the top of the four words, "I will help you." I said, wow, I didn't know those four words were a big deal up here, but they are.
They are.
And so that's when Kate and I walked outside. Did she say anything to you? And I said, yeah, she wants me to bring thousands. So um, then we went back. We met Collins and Wayne the next day. And we went out there. And this is the incredible part. I didn't want to meet the bishop, but the four of us went into this. So if you know where the gift shop is and all that building, and there's a room in the back has a
The old
fireplace
schoolhouse.
in it. Yeah.
The
Okay.
St. Joseph's room. It's called St. Joseph's room.
So we go in there. We said, "Oh, I guess we could robe in here," because we'd already kind of walked around a bit, and we thought, we could probably robe in this room. We could go over here and do all this thing. And there was this man in the corner talking to another man, uh, and we didn't want to disturb them and whatever, they weren't that far away. But then the one man left, and the other man that was left in the room came to us and said, "Hello, can I help you?" And he goes, "I'm Bishop Ricken." And we said, "Wow, I don't know if you can help us or not," but we introduced ourselves to him, and he said, I'm here. I'm waiting for Cardinal George because he's on his way up here and he's going to be saying the Mass for the Feast of the Assumption." And we said, "Wow, we were just with Cardinal George in Lourdes in May. It's a couple of months ago, and actually, we spent some time with him there. It would be great to see him again." And he goes, "Oh, you know him?" And we said, "Well, we do. We obviously went to Lourdes." We talked to Bishop Ricken for about a half hour and actually immediately became friends. It was that quick, that simple. And so we told him what we were doing there, that we were checking out to see if this would be something the Order of Malta could do. And he was encouraging. He said, "It'd be great. Any way we can help you, we will." And I said, "Okay, great." So that was kind of the end of that session with him. Cardinal George was up there. We sat right in the front. Um, and then we left. Wayne had to, not sure if he got a cab. He left because he had to go back to Baltimore. He left right after the Mass was over. So it was Kate, myself, and Collins. And we left and we drove down. I said, we're kind of, we got to downtown Green Bay. And I said, "We're getting kind of hungry here. Well, here's a Hyatt hotel. They got to have a restaurant in there." So we go in there and I thought, "Hey, this Hyatt hotel, this is really big." Bessemer said thousands. I'm pretty sure we could use this entire hotel. So we sat down. This is before we had lunch, even though we were hungry. We sat down and said, "Hey, I'd like to see the director of sales." Uh, Somebody came out and talked to us. I said, "I would like to put some rooms on my credit card for next year. We're going to come here in the fall." So, "Oh, okay, great." She goes, "But I need to," and I said, "I'm an Order of Malta." And I said, "But I need to get this done." So she said, "Well, I need to get you the person that's in charge of banquets and tours and all this stuff." I said, "Okay, whatever." So that person came out. And that night, by that time, I said, "Here's my credit card. I'm guaranteeing 25 rooms." Um, and she said, "Okay, great." So she does that. We're guaranteed. The dates we picked, Kate, was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Uh,
It was October 7th, 8th, and 9th, because we wanted to go during the apparition days. Those are the
that's it.
apparition days.
Yeah,
And we also didn't, that was a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so the thing is, we didn't also want to conflict with anything the Green Bay Packers had going on in October. So
that's right.
it
That's
was,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so we booked that, and I come back. So this was in August, and then I came back, and we had a board meeting in October. It could have actually been in September. I can't remember the exact month. And I presented to the board that I wanted to lead this pilgrimage. I would do it myself, uh, wouldn't need a whole lot of help from anybody. And that one of the board members said, this could be a financial hit to the association. I said, "Well, as a negative, because it was a back and forth why this would be good and why it's not good." So I told the board at the time, I said, "Look," I said, if finance is what you're worried about, I'll personally cover any losses on this. And we just need to go one time and we'll see if it works. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But the association will not lose any money at all." They said, "Okay, go ahead." The board said, "Go ahead and do the pilgrimage. Let us know how it goes." So it did. Sent out, started the process. We had the hotel booked already and got a hold of a bus company, Lammers. started talking to caterers, and we set the whole thing up. We put out an invitation to the association. And the very first year, we had 32.
What year was this?
That'd
It'll
be
be seven.
2014.
That's right.
So we started setting it up in 13,
Right.
with 2014 in the fall. And so,
So you talked about it in Lords in 2011,
yes,
and then you finally got out there in 2013
correct.
and met Bishop Ricken, and then the 14 was the first time the order went,
Right.
Yes, and Bishop
the association went.
and
Yeah,
Bishop
exactly.
Ricken did our opening mass for us,
Oh,
and
great.
we did it at the cathedral. We got to know him pretty well because
Honestly,
we
Bob, for an event that size, an event with the Order of Malta, that's pretty good turnaround time.
yeah, 30 some people. Kate and I took 3 or 4 trips up there to set things up and talk with Bishop Rick. And each time we did, we had dinner, and every time we met with him, we got closer and closer to him, and found out what an incredible guy he was, and then he found out how incredible the order was. So we did set it up. We set the invitation out to the entire association, and we had 30 something show, 32, I think it was. And what we didn't have is a priest. And so I told Wayne, I said, one of the problems we have, I've already invited priests, and everybody said, well, I can't. It's in October. And he goes, Wayne said, I'll get a priest. So he did. We invested him as a chaplain. I'm trying to think of his name.
Can't think of it.
I
He's
can't
from
think of.
Baltimore, and
He's
he
from
works at
Baltimore.
that hospital right there.
And he's a chaplain in the order. He became a chaplain in the order.
Was it Marcaccio?
No,
No.
he was in North Carolina, I think.
Yeah. Because he
This
just
this
passed
one's
away.
this
Yeah,
one's
he
in
did.
Baltimore. We can look it up, but he's still in the order. But he joined the order right after that. And that was the only year he came, actually, but it was the only year we actually really needed him because we didn't have a priest. He was great.
Well, the other thing,
So
let me interject that the Father Peter Stryker, he was the chaplain in charge. He was not our chaplain. He was the chaplain in charge of the shrine.
he was a
And
wreck.
Father Stryker was incredibly congenial about everything. And the priest at the cathedral of St. Francis, he was very helpful. And of course, Bishop Ricken basically came to all of our masses. I mean, he didn't just do the opening mass, he came to everything. So I just wanted to say that the priests and bishop from up there were awesome. They were
Great.
awesome.
So on the very first pilgrimage, we felt it was very successful. In fact, our closing dinner, all of us walked down to Titletown Brewery, which is across the bridge there, and at the time they had a bar across the street, a tavern, and so we took the top room, and we only had half of it for ourselves, and so I had arranged for the dinner and beer and wine, what everybody wanted, and our closing dinner was really quite unique because we were in a bar, very nice, and but it showed us how simple this could be. It didn't need to be grand. It ultimately did turn out a little more grand than that first one. But one of the things that we did do is we did know about St. Joseph when we did the pilgrimage, the first one. And at the time, they had moved the St. Joseph statue from the original St. Joseph Church on Narbertine campus, St. Norbert's campus. They moved it to the Narbertine Abbey, and it was down underneath the church. You may have actually been there and seen that. So we had a mass at the St. Norbert's Abbey, and then we did a healing service down at the St. Joseph statue on our very first pilgrimage. It was actually beautiful. So then we continued that on until we outgrew both that and St. Norbert's. We went there for lunch. We outgrew the whole thing. So and eventually had to go back to the Hyatt. So that was the end of the first pilgrimage. It was 32. And then I went to the board shortly thereafter and said that we need to make this an annual pilgrimage. And it was quite a discussion, a great discussion, actually. Got kind of lively. Uh, they did, some people just had, they didn't want to do it. Others that were in the room that were actually on the pilgrimage were, yes, we are doing it. So it was Frank Gumbala. We were sitting there and I said, now where do we go with this? Robert Hutton wrote up a motion and it was discussed and they said, Frank Gumbala said, Bob, let's take a vote. Let's get this over with. So to plus some other ticket. And Rob Lively was there and he said, we're taking a vote because Rob Lively was there too. And he was in full support of this. As with Pat Monahan, there were a lot of people that were on the board. It was mostly board people attended, which was incredible. Let's take a vote and let's get this over with. And so Margaret was the president, and she goes, but I want everybody to vote, and I want them to make comments as they vote as to why they voted. Pretty unusual procedure, but not bad. So we went around the room and it passed. It passed. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was enough that it was definitive. We're going and we're doing this. So we did. Forget what the vote count was. Like we had 22 show up at the meeting, and I think it was 15 said yes. That's all you needed. It was enough. So they were off and running, and then so in 2015.
Before you do that, before you go to that thought, I just wanted to interject that Frank Gumbala played a very, very important part in this pilgrimage. He brought our first special pilgrim to the very first. You know who it was? Suzanne's daughter, Margaret Mary.
Oh, yeah.
And she has been to every pilgrimage since then.
Yeah.
And we had a nighttime rosary procession. We after dinner, we got on the bus and we went back to the shrine. They didn't even have a path. It was just a field with ruts. It was not, and we did the rosary procession on the same night that they did the night of the Peshtigo fire. And so Frank Gumbala pushed little Margaret in her stroller. And it was beautiful. It was truly a beautiful moment. So I just wanted to make sure we gave that little talk about Frank.
Okay. So the board approved it. And so starting in 2014, we had our first official of the long-term for this thing to survive long.
Approved pilgrimages.
So, I'm sorry?
Approved pilgrimage.
That's it.
And that's where I came in. This is where I joined the story. Is my first time going was in 2014.
Yeah. So this
time
time
we've been every year since.
You were there for the very first pilgrimage?
Second one.
The second one.
Oh, that was 2015. Okay.
Or 15 then.
Right.
Yeah. So we got to preach right away. We got Father Luke Millette right there, and said, "Hey, would you come and be the head chaplain for this?" He said, "Absolutely, I'll do it." So,
well, also Monsignor Dillon, he came the next year too.
That's right. That's right. He
was actually the head chaplain of the pilgrimage.
That's right. That is what we did. Father Luke Millette came, and so did Father Monsignor Dillon. He came, and Monsignor Dillon, because he was so familiar with Lourdes and what was going to go on here with moving people around, he became the head chaplain of this, which ultimately he turned over to Father Luke Millette. Okay, so the second pilgrimage, we invited the American Association to join us, and they sent. The second pilgrimage, by the way, we went from 32 to 65. It's a round number, but it was 60 something. I've been 66, 67, but it was right there. We doubled it on the second pilgrimage. And we had called Jack Poorer, I did, and asked him if they would like to participate in this pilgrimage with us. He said, yeah. So he said, we need to come check it out. So it was Jack Poorer, Jeff Trexler, Ken Craig. I think that was just the only three of them. I think it was just three of them came in 2015. And they saw what it was. They were very, and I also, by the way, at the same time, I called the Western Association too and asked them if they'd like to participate. And they said they would send somebody, but I don't know what happened. They didn't send anybody, and they didn't. It was a long way to come for them. So I think
Plus,
there
they
was.
also do a pilgrimage to Guadalupe every year, correct?
Yes, they do. It's right after ours. It's in September all the time.
It is how it is. They do. However, that pilgrimage to Guadalupe is constrained. The most they can take on any one of those pilgrimages is 30, because they do it in conjunction with the Mexican Association, which was my selling point to them because there would be no constraint like that in Our Lady of Champion. They could send hundreds and it wouldn't be a problem. So anyway, the Blessed Mother got involved in this, and I'll explain how she did this one. But they weren't real warm on this. So, but the American Association was, and Jack Poor, when he left, Jeff Drexler and Ken Craig said, "We're in. We're going to be here next year." And in fact, they did. They came the next year, and we went from 60 to over 120, almost 130, because the American Association had over 100 come. So now we had two associations. What was really interesting is the American or the Western Association. They Michael Grace was there with his son. They went to a wedding. I believe it was in Appleton, but it was in the Green Bay area. And his son said, "Hey, Dad, there is an apparition site here in the United States that's been approved. We ought to go down and visit it together." And they did. And the two of them went. Michael Grace, after he had visited there and spent a couple hours, said, "I'd like to speak to the rector, whoever runs this shrine. I want to talk to him." So, being he is, I mean, he's gets an idea. He's going to move forward. So he talks to Father Stryker. He gets hold of him and says, "Hey, I'm Michael Grace. I'm Order of Malta. I'm from Los Angeles, and I think we want to do a pilgrimage here." So it was kind of interesting because Father Stryker said the Order of Malta already comes here. And he goes, last year they had, he said, I don't know, 100, 200. I don't know. They had a whole bunch of them. They were from New York, Florida, Texas. They're from all over the place. And he said, no one from California. He goes, no, not at all. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what. He goes, in fact, they're coming here because we had moved the pilgrimage out of October. And the reason why we did that was because we had priests and everybody saying, I can't come in October. So we fell on the first week of August, which is close to the Feast of the Transubstantiation. And we said, this is going to work for us. We're not getting involved with the Packers and their schedule and the whole thing, even though ultimately we did get a little bit into that. So, because the Packers have something going on almost every weekend up in Green Bay. So,
They have
anyway,
their homecoming thing in August.
they
Right.
do.
Packer family weekend and
Packer family weekend, and that's a big deal. So we have come into that, but we have rooms guaranteed now, so it's not a real problem. Anyway, Michael goes back to Los Angeles, and I get a telephone call saying, "I understand you guys are going up there next week. I was just there, and I was given your name." I said, "Okay, great. What do you want to do?" And he goes, "I'm going to send somebody up there next week, and it's a fellow named Joe Sanders."
uh-oh.
Okay, so he said Joe Sanders would join us the next week in Green Bay. He was coming up there. I said, "Okay, great." And he said he'll represent the Western Association. Great. So I met Joe, great guy, met his wife, and all he said was, "You can count on the American or Western Association getting involved in this. I'm going to go back and talk to Michael." So that was the beginning. The next year, the Western did send folks.
So that'd have been
For, I
16 or
forget how many
17.
it was, 15, 20, something like that.
Well,
Um,
what year was that, Bob?
that would
Was
be
that
2000. Okay, so it was 14 was us,
15 was
15?
15,
approved.
15 the American, 15 it was American sent three, 16 the American sent 100 or 80, whatever that number was. And that's when Joe Sanders came, and then they joined us in 17.
17.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. And then so the three of us been together. It was after the 2017 pilgrimage, we had a meeting in Washington, D.C. with the three associations. So it was Peter Kelly was president of the American, just taken over. Michael Grace was now president of the Western Association. He had just taken over, and Tom Mulligan had just taken over for the federal. And so the decision was made that each association would participate in this, and that each association would chair it for 3 years and would keep moving around. So that is the structure.
And that was also when the Federal Association, then because of that, we had to change the way we were structured, because we had people that were helping us with the pilgrimage. We had people that were, involved, and they just said that there could be two. It could be me and Bob. And then, of course, people could still be involved, but it was no longer our quasi,
Committee.
yeah.
That's right.
We had to disband that. It was not our position to disband anything. It was just that's the way now it was going to work. And
So
so,
now we have a committee of six, two
Yeah,
from
it's a
the
tri.
federal, two from the American, two from the Western.
It's now
exactly.
officially a tri-association committee.
And it
Right.
rotates every 3 years who's the chair.
Yeah.
Right.
After a lot of discussion there, that's the way the presidents chose to do it. So that was fine. But I forget now exactly what happened. The American Association was supposed to take over and chair it in 2019. Okay, we finished so that was 17, it was 18. Kate and I did our last one that we were going to chair. But then in 19, we had
I
the
thought I
pandemic.
thought that I thought the pandemic was 2020. That was the only
Yeah.
year that the American was supposed to take over in 20.
Right.
And you walked into the room and
That's
you
right.
said, "Hey, Kate, the American Association just said they're not coming. So do you want to take this back over again?" And I said,
Right.
"Well, of course, if we're not going to go, we're going to definitely do this."
That
Yeah,
is what
it was
happened.
2020
It was
Okay,
2020.
when
it
the
was 20.
pandemic
So
hit.
they didn't do it. And in 21, they didn't come, and we shared that. So the 20 was virtual. And then 21,
But
the
we
American
still went in
Association.
20. We still
20,
went in
20,
20.
20, we went in 20 and 21 was virtual.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
actually, that's not true. We went in 21, and I know that because I caught COVID right after.
That's right. No, that is right. So
We
we went
never
in.
didn't go. We went every year. We went every
Okay,
year.
20 was virtual. 21, the American Association was supposed to take it over. They gave it back to us. And then in 22, Walt Fountain did his last one. Bob Kilmartin did his first one in 23, his second one in 24, and his last one will be in 25.
That's right. And then the
That's right.
American takes over, or the federal takes over again in
Then the
26.
federal takes over.
Yeah, that'll be you, Chuck.
So that's really the history of where we are. The highest number we ever had attended was 320, and that would have been in 2019, I believe. That was our biggest one. And then in 2021, when it was just federal and Western together, we were like 175, something like that, because um, the federal had 135 show up on that because we didn't go to Lourdes that year. So we had 135. And then from that point on, then the three of us got back together again, and it's been averaging about 250. We've never gotten back over the 300. level, although I think we were getting close and we still probably are. So, but anyway, it's always averaged between about 250.
Well, I know that everyone feels very indebted to you and your leadership and the creation of this pilgrimage, but what do you think that you have gained from it?
Hmm.
Go ahead.
I would like to just say that the Blessed Mother has just grabbed a hold and will never let go. You know, we had a miracle there in our family. It was a
Tell me about
it's
that.
also it was in 2018. My sister's daughter-in-law was pregnant, and the baby had been diagnosed with quite a profound birth defect. I'm to this day, I'm never sure exactly what that birth defect was, but my sister Teresa said, "I want to bring Caroline to Our Lady of Champion, or at the time, Our Lady of Good Help." So we went. It was a prayerful time. It was a fun time. Everything was great, and it was the on Friday, maybe it was Saturday, the time we spend a lot of time there uh, uh, at the shrine. And I went down into the apparition chapel, and oh, I saw this empty seat in front of Caroline. She was kneeling and praying, and I saw an empty seat. And so I went and sat in it. And then when Caroline got up and went and sat and knelt down, and I went, oh, just the poor thing, she's kneeling all by herself. I want to pray for her. So I went and knelt next to Caroline, and I put my arm around her, and I prayed for her baby's healing and for Caroline, uh, everything to be good. And then it was afterwards we went outside, and Caroline said, "I have to tell you just what happened, Aunt Kate." She goes, "This is amazing." She said, "The Blessed Mother statue, the hand kept moving and pointing at the seat in front of me." And she said, "I kept praying to the Blessed Mother saying, there's nobody there." And she said, and then all of a sudden you came in and just knelt down there. She said, then she said, after you were kneeling there, the statue changed and the hands were going like this. The hands were like doing like that. And Caroline said, okay. So she went up and knelt down in front of the statue. And that's when I went and knelt in front of the statue with Caroline. I didn't see any of this. Caroline went home and she went to the doctor. The doctor said there was absolutely no reason. He couldn't figure it out. But the tests all proved that her baby was completely and totally healthy.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we contacted Bishop Ricken, and Bishop Ricken said, please write it down. We want this. And I told him about the statue. I said, Bishop Ricken, the statue was calling Caroline and pointing. And he goes, oh, that's not unusual. I
Ha!
was like, oh. So anyway, that is a miracle that has been.
I don't think he knows the meaning of that word. It it may be common, but it certainly is unusual.
Yeah, there you go. And so anyway, that's my story of, and Patrick Finton is 5 years old now and just
Praise
a
God.
healthy little boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen a lot of miracles myself, but not physical. But I have seen a lot of people have come up to me afterwards and said, this is life changing." Um, and some of them, some of them really were life changing that I could point to. One or two in particular, and they have their own stories, and it's not for me to share. But we had a lot of people that come on this pilgrimage that they strong sense of roses, smell of roses, and you hear that a lot from people. And generally, when they're either in the apparition chapel or the chapel above, And
I'll tell you, I experienced that myself.
you
I won't
did.
tell you who it was because, like you said, that's his story to tell. But after mass in the chapel or the church the one day, in our robes, there was a gentleman who had stayed behind and was kneeling and praying pretty intently. And I was walking in front of the altar and I was walking down the aisle and I felt his hand reach out and grab me and stop me. And the gentleman looked up at me and said, "Chuck, do you smell that?" And I stopped and I took a breath and it was an overwhelming sense of roses, smell of roses. And I remember I walked back to the altar. I said, "Wait a second." I walked to the altar, couldn't smell it. I walked to the back of the church, couldn't smell it. I walked back to him and I said, I think it's you. And this overwhelming smell of roses was centered around this man praying in the church after, and I did not want to ask what he was praying for because I didn't want to ruin
Yeah.
his moment. But he told me he got his intention.
Yeah,
Oh,
So
that is
I've experienced that
wonderful.
smell myself,
yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
the
and
one where
it
we
wasn't
did,
it wasn't just it was very localized. It wasn't, I walked up to the altar and there was nothing. I walked to the back of the church outside, there was nothing. It wasn't the breeze coming in.
well, the biggest one was when we did the blessing over the married couples. You remember that year?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that one, yeah.
That one, we got a lot of people come and said, "Did you smell the roses?" And actually, I did, but I didn't think it was that big a deal. Kate did too, I believe,
I
and
did.
everybody around us did.
I don't remember smelling it that year, but like I said, I haven't encountered that at Champion.
Yeah, but anyway,
But I
what this
wasn't there with my
actually,
wife that year, so maybe that's why.
yeah, because the couples all sat in
Yeah.
the front,
Maybe if I'd have been with my wife, I'd have smelled the roses.
probably. You should bring her. But anyway, that
You
would
bring
be,
your whole family.
I finally was able to bring my daughter this last year, but and
Oh,
I'll
I,
bring one or two back this next year. So one at a time.
she's a sweet
yeah.
girl. I really liked meeting your daughter.
Thank you so much.
I think what this has done for me, it has brought me closer to the Blessed Mother. I got close to the Blessed Mother and went to Lourdes. I can't say that I was before that. Kate always was, and when we would say the Rosary, well, Kate's parents were way out there too. They were really dedicated to the Blessed Mother, and they were a great influence on our life. Actually, we would go to visit them. I live in St. Louis, and it was actually kind of the beginning of things. Um, we would go to St. Louis and they had their bedroom, and then in between our bedroom and theirs was obviously a wall, and then on each wall was closets on both sides, so there was some insulation, but not much. And so at nighttime when we go to bed, they would lay in bed every night and say the rosary and have this long list of people they were praying for, so long that they actually had to write it all down. They would go through every single person's name, those that are still living, those who were that had passed away, and it would take them 10 minutes to go through this incredible list. And then I never could hear their personal intentions because they said them very quietly, but I knew they said them, and so it was. They were a good example for their kids,
And what were their names?
Rita
Rita
and
and
Bill
Bill.
Gore,
Yeah.
Rita and Bill Gore,
Pray for us.
and they were pretty influential.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, um, we actually, this is kind of off the subject. We couldn't go to Medjugorje. I forgot what happened. We had tickets to go because my faith in the Blessed Mother was growing. And so I thought, let's go to Medjugorje. There seems to be a lot going on there. And then we couldn't go,
This was in
but
89, long time ago.
yeah, okay. So we couldn't go. And so I said, well, your mom and dad, I'll pay for their trip. I'll give them my tickets. And they went. Um, and that's when I realized too that the Blessed Mother wasn't calling, she wasn't calling us there. She was calling them there. Um, because they had a profound experience there. So that's when I realized, wow, I said I wasn't supposed to go anyway, but they were, and I was supposed to be the instrument to make that happen. So it did happen for them, and very life changing for Kate's mother, who it was very life changing for her. She became a different person when she came back, completely
She
different
did.
person. Very spiritual, very loving, very caring. And I can't say that I would give her those compliments before that. So,
Right.
and it
Nobody
wasn't
would.
because it wasn't because she was my mother-in-law. It was because that's what I ran into.
I'll let you
But
say it.
anyway,
I'm not saying anything.
yeah. So, but
Yeah.
she became probably one of the most uh, beautiful people I've ever met. Uh, Not anywhere near as beautiful as her daughter, but she was she's incredible, and it was good for her. But anyways, we went to Lourdes, and I had this deep, this profound adoration and dedication of the Blessed Mother. So she was obviously calling us to Our Lady of Champion, but she wasn't just calling us there. She was actually calling the Order of Malta there. And so that's pretty important to know because that's the first place I went, and that's the first place I had incredible quick success, where all three associations came together and thinking, you know what, this is not about me. It's not about. This is about the Order of Malta, and the reason why the Blessed Mother chose me to do what she did was because she wanted the order, not necessarily anything other than that. So. Uh, I have a great appreciation for that, but I also have a deep, deep dedication to the Blessed Mother, knowing when I saw what she did with the Western Association, she wanted that to happen. It did. She wanted some other things to happen. There was other things that might have happened that maybe she changed. I know for a fact she did. We chaired it a little bit longer than we should have. And then I realized at the end of that was probably what she wanted to have happen. And so um, I will never, ever, ever uh, believe anything other than the Blessed Mother is absolutely incredible. And if you want intercession and intervention, that's that's a good place to go. And it's for the Order of Malta. You look at Our Lady of Palermo. So Our Lady has been involved in the order all the way through 950 years. She's been there. Well, she's here today for that. So it's meant a lot to me, the pilgrimage. And my hope is that it will become bigger and more important in the order, which I believe it will. So maybe 100 years down the road, uh, we'll have 1,000 people coming, and maybe not just from the United States, could be from anywhere. Um, but it's left me with this great thankfulness that she's introduced me to this and came into my life like that.
That's fantastic. Well, I think you've already hit over 1,000 people. So you've accomplished your mission where she said to bring 1,000.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but
It's not just those. It's not just the couple thousand from the order that has attended. It's the people they have brought and people that through the order that have met other people and told them about it, and they've gone there not with the order but on their own. There's literally got to be hundreds and hundreds of those people as well, and then the people they tell. So it's really the number could be 10,000. Who knows?
yeah,
Another interesting thing that happened when we went up there is we met Sally and Mark Follett, and we met several other Rose, and we met all the people that were up there involved with the apparition site. And so Bob said, you know, you all should be in the Order of Malta. And they said, and Mark said, well, I'm not in it. I'm in it.
Nope.
I'm a knight. But the thing is that we're in through Milwaukee, and they won't let my wife come in. they just had an interesting hospitaler there. It's all changed since then. So Bob and I went with uh, Tom Mulligan, and we went up there and had a meeting with them, and we recruited the whole group to join the Order of Malta, gave them applications, gave them everything. And they all, yes, of course, we're going to do this. And then the New York Association, the American, they stepped in and said, no, we think this is our territory. So they came in and
Territorial
said,
disputes raise
oh,
their head
yes.
again.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
we took
And
Bishop
then,
Rick into Lourdes too.
yeah, we took Bishop. But
We
anyway, the thing
invited him to be
is,
our chaplain as well.
yeah,
And
he was, oh
he
yeah, he
said
was
yes.
coming. Yeah, he was coming in as our chaplain. And anyway, here's the nice thing that happened is that then when New York, they said, we're going to take over all these applications. And they invested everybody, including Bishop Bricken, right away. And but they didn't change any of the applications. So Bob and I are the only two Federal Association people who've ever been on the application for people being invested in New York.
That's great.
I think
They didn't bother to get new sponsors.
No, they just used us.
And why would they? You guys are perfect.
well, actually, the whole group came to the formation of the Federal Association. They all came to Washington D.C. and so they'd already been in their year of formation through the federal. So the American just said, "Hey, they're coming in here." So that's where we are. Actually, Tom Mulligan's a sponsor for a couple of them too. So that there are, I think it was eight or nine that we were bringing in from Green Bay,
Yeah.
plus Bishop Rick. So, but they all
Let me,
ended up in the.
let me
So
ask
it
you,
don't, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was going to say, let me ask you, other than just continuing to grow in numbers, where would you like to see the pilgrimage go? What would you like to see it develop into?
Actually, what I would really like to see is, I would like to see the Sovereign Council one day um, approve it for the order, just like they did Lourdes, which they have done for NOC as well. And they've done it for the Italian Association. It goes to Loreto, and the Spanish Association goes to Fatima. So I'd like to see the Sovereign Council approve it as an Order of Malta pilgrimage and have people from other countries join us. Knights and dames from other countries join us. So I don't know if I'll live to see that. It doesn't really make any difference if that's what the Blessed Mother wants to have happen. Believe me, it's going to happen.
Well, I will tell you that for 2025, the Irish and the Canadian associations are being invited.
Awesome,
Good.
awesome.
So it may end up being international well before you pass on.
It could be next year. That would be a real. That'd be
Well,
incredible.
as I reminded people, it actually already is international. It has been because I think it was 2017. We had a gentleman from the Irish Association attend.
We
Yeah,
did,
we
we
did.
did.
Yeah.
But we've invited the Mexican Association. I personally did that, and I invited the Canadian Association, Bill
And the
Sullivan,
Cuban
and
Association.
Cuban. Talked to JJ Centurion and three or four of them. They all said yes, they haven't come yet. And then Bill Sullivan, I got a hold of him because he was the hospitaler for the Canadian Association, and nothing happened there yet. So, and the Irish Association would be great because F.J. McCarthy, I think, now is kind of works as the president of that or something.
I know he's on the Sovereign Council.
Yeah, but he's also in charge of Ireland too, I believe. I just saw something where he was. It's temporary,
I don't
but
know.
he's in charge of it. So he would be in a position to uh, say yes to that.
Do you know what I'd like to see happen? I would like to see happen what the Blessed Mother asked for is teach the children of this wild country what they need to know for salvation. Teach them their catechism, teach them the sign of the cross, teach them how to approach the sacraments. I think it's just so important that if we could develop tools, not necessarily, we've tried the thing where the people bring their children and it that doesn't seem to click. And it's, if you think about it, that's not what Sister Adele Bryce did either. She went out. She went out to people's homes. I would love to see us develop some kind of tools to give to people that come on the pilgrimage to take home, to share with their children, with their grandchildren, with little kids they know, people at their local schools. Special rosary, how to pray the rosary, how to just tools that people could use to help inspire their children.
That's a very good idea.
Well, Blessed Mother thought of it.
So, do you guys have a favorite year that you went, or is there any time that stands out as being particularly significant to you?
No, not for me. Every one of them I absolutely love. Uh, there's not one that I would say was better than the other. I do think that by adding the three associations together, I think it's added a lot to it. The Federal Association, the Western Association brought some new ideas into it, uh, which was, I thought was the Rosary Procession we did, Eucharistic Procession. Well, we had the Rosary Procession, but the Eucharistic Procession, I think that was a great addition this last year. Should never
That
get
was
away
Bob
from that.
Kilmartin's idea.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and believe it or not, actually, the American Association wanted to make this into a retreat, a pilgrimage retreat. Not using those words, but they actually wanted it to be more of have a retreat environment to it. And that didn't work. Well, now it did. But that original idea came from the American Association. We just didn't know how we were going to make that happen.
Well, the reason we couldn't make it happen is because that would have eliminated any kind of special pilgrims coming. They wanted to turn it in just to a retreat, not a
That's right.
pilgrimage, but a retreat. And that would have changed the parameters of the pilgrimage, bringing sick people, bringing having it. So anyway, but the time finally evolved that we could make it a pilgrimage retreat, and that was good.
Yeah. So the idea actually started there, and so then it kind of grew from there. But every association has added something to this. I think it's important so that it now really is the United States, a pilgrimage for the United States, which is can't ask for anything more than that.
Let me ask you, where do you see the role of special pilgrims or malads in this pilgrimage? Do you think we should spend more time on it or more
No,
emphasis?
I absolutely think we should spend more time on it. They belong here. The issue that we run into is they have to be able to take care of themselves. We don't really have the facilities. We don't have the doctors and we don't want to really turn it into something like Lourdes. This is something completely separate. So yeah, do I think we can expand it? We do, but Malads have to get there on their own, be able to have their own helpers with them. And maybe regions could support them, which they do. By the way, several regions have paid for the financial portion of it for these special pilgrims. But other than that, I believe that that's the only barrier we have is they have to be able to get there and take care of themselves. And we run into some issues.
Or have people with them that can take care of them. The
Yeah.
thing is that we had a serious conversation with someone, and you would know better than I do, Chuck, about legalities. But people were afraid of doctors going with us and taking care of people. It was it was a scary thing for them. I think it was just the bad guy trying to get in there and cause us problems. Because I do
Wisconsin's
believe
laws are very tight, I can tell you.
the what laws?
Wisconsin's laws about
Oh.
medical care are very tight.
Yeah,
Right. And we need to be aware of that. And so that's the reason if we bring a sick person with us, a special pilgrim, that they, but we should, I would love to see us grow that a little bit. I would like to see us grow that a lot
yeah,
because
me
people
too.
don't think they can come if they're sick. And I also think that people are um, spoiled by the Lourdes pilgrimage. So if you come as a Malad to Lourdes, you're completely paid for by the association. We cannot afford to do that. Maybe someday someone will give us a grant of $1 million and we can afford then to bring special pilgrims without any cost to them. That would be very nice.
Well, we covered sort of the history and we covered a lot of the spiritual aspects in your lives. Is there anything else you think we should talk about with regards to Champion?
Not that if I can think of something later, I'll
Yeah.
send you
So
a note on it. But I think we've covered it.
it's been very special for me, and I want to personally thank you while I got you two together for setting this up because I've now gone. I think this was my ninth time, eighth time, ninth time. I'd have to look at my pins, but um, I've been coming every year, and it's really made a huge, profound impact in my life. And I can every time I go there, I can feel the Blessed Mother there, and that's not a relationship I think I had before going to Green Bay.
Chuck, you froze up about 10 seconds ago.
I just said I just wanted to thank you guys for setting this up. You know, going to Champion as many times as I have now, it's made a profound impact on my life, and
Oh,
it's something that I really didn't have before going to Green Bay. I mean, obviously I'm Catholic and I love the Blessed Mother, but I don't know that I had a real devotion, and it's been set on fire. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to say thank you for setting this up so that I can be involved in it.
well,
We did it just for you, Chuck. But
I always I'm the center of the world.
To Jesus through Mary, isn't that what it says in
Yeah,
Lourdes on that wall where all the little angel faces are? To
yeah.
Jesus through Mary. I always thought that's what it said. But the thing is that
It says it in the Rosary Basilica on the the mosaic of Mary.
yes, okay, but it and that's where we're all headed. That's where we're all headed. But Chuck, I want you to know, and personally speaking, we pray for you every day in our
I
rosary.
appreciate that so much.
Yeah. So we're not letting the Blessed Mother forget that there are needs of people who are serving her.
I appreciate that very much. All right, I think that'll be it. If we come up with another set of questions, we'll do round two.
thanks,
Okay.
Chuck. Thanks,
Thanks,
Chuck.
Chuck.
Well, thank you so much.
You're a really good friend, and we love you.
Yeah,
I
we
love
love
you.
you.
I love you guys too.
Take care.
All right, take care. I'm signing off.